So enough of that. Now how this database actually works is this is a social media content calendar. So there's two tables here, and one are dates to remember, and the other is your social media content calendar itself. So this manages like all of the data for your social media posts. So you have like the post title, the description, the content type, where it's being posted, when it's going live, who like which collaborator in your Airtable database owns that piece of content, the status. So this would be really good to see, like if you are familiar with the Kanban view, this will show you like where it's at in the cycle of like your posting cycle. So creation, whether it needs approval, then it's ready to publish, then it's published. You can see that logical progression in here as well. And then you can see just more of the asset, more of the descriptions and the certain things of each post that need to be kept in here. So if it's being cross-posted, like the Twitter, the Facebook, and everything, that's all in here. And then the other table is just these dates to remember. So it looks like it's just holidays and birthdays for this example. This isn't the best example of the power of a relational database in Airtable. It does have one linked record, but these are just the two types of information. The first one is posts. The second one is just dates to remember. So there's holidays and others. So now we're going to go back and we're going to look at this project tracker base. And just to get in it, I'm just going to click right here. And what's great about some of these bases, and you can add this to your base, is a base description. And so for anyone coming into your base, this is great because you can give them like resources. Like if you want to include a link to go, like say you record a Loom or a screen record, something similar to this, then you can include that in here and you can share it with your team or whoever is learning how to use Airtable. Like what are the best practices about using this base, and how should you be interacting with this base if you don't give that somewhere else? So that can be really helpful if you want to include that in your base description. But I'm not going to read through all of this because it doesn't always help me to help you. So I'm just going to exit out of that. If you want to pause it, you can read that right there. And now we're back. So I'll click the X there, and this is another base. So obviously you can see over here on the right, it didn't open the different views, but we can just close out of these apps. We're going to be getting like the brief dive of apps and automations at the end of this tutorial series. And there'll be more courses if you really want to get like the full in-depth training of Airtable apps and Airtable automations. I'm sure Dan will have more that come out. So this example is going to illustrate the power of a relational database a lot better. And I can already tell because of some of the links it has in here, some of the types of data that it's going to have. Naturally, like a CRM, a project management tool, they're going to better represent the data than just something as simple as a social media content calendar, which can be represented essentially in one view, a calendar view. So this one is a little bit more complex. And it's more complex because of some of these relationships. You can see it has a relationship between a few of the tables in here. And in the next video, I'm going to go into what relationships are, and that's really going to take you into understanding what a table is in Airtable and how these all work together. But basically how this project tracker base works is you have all of your task management, all of your project management information in here. So if I'm a client in here, then I'm only one record in here. So like I am a Rhode Island Technology Institute, and this is all of the information that I would need, or that whoever is like running these projects would need about that specific client. And then for each client, you can see that there's a few different projects over here, and these directly correlate to the projects on this table. So you can see how there's this like interconnection between the different tables within your database, which is the same thing as a base. And now for each project, you can see here at the end, there's different tasks that need to be done based on the project. If we come to the task table, you'll be able to see all of these different tasks, and they're currently grouped by project, which is smart. But these are just all of the tasks that need done, and this is a great view of like some of the different field types. So like you can have this rich text, long text formatter. You can have like checkboxes, some collaborator views, as well as like number and a linked record. So that's just a little bit more about how the bases work and how the bases are structured. There's different classes of information in each table, but I don't want to get too far into that. A theme you might notice between these different bases is there's all like a certain process that's maintained inside of this base. So like this one is our project management. The other base is social media content calendar. It doesn't always make sense to just have one base with everything in it. There might be similarities between bases where you might want to have like your team in each base if you don't have like everybody as a collaborator, or if, especially for a lot of businesses, you want to have a client list in there, or just something you want to have between those bases. A feature that Airtable just released are synced tables between the bases. So while you might not want everything in one base, you can create multiple bases with similar information between them without getting too much data redundancy, which data redundancy is essentially like the same information multiple times. That's the simplest way that I can put it, and it just clogs up your database, makes it work slower, it's less efficient. It's something that you don't want. So now what I'm going to show you is how to start an Airtable base from scratch. So if I just come in here and I click add a base, I can just click start from scratch. And if I start from scratch, it's going to have like the bare bones database you could ever imagine. And if I click that, I'll just go click it and it'll ask me to name it. And so this is going to be the first base. First base tutorial. And I don't think we can pick, oh yeah, you can pick it on the first one. So that's pretty cool. So you can pick your color, you can pick like what your emoticon is. So I've always picked that one. And then if you want to share it right off the bat, you can do that. You can move it to a different workspace if you added it to the wrong one. And I would stay away from Slack notifications for now. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel explaining Slack notifications. We're not going to get into that integration in this series. There's also going to be another tutorial series, I believe, on integrations, but that'll be a different one. So now we can just click right into this first base tutorial and we can see what a blank database looks like. So this is the most blank database you could have, and it doesn't even have a name on the table. So this is table 1, and these are just the stock 4 fields that you're going to get when you populate a new database from scratch. And this itself is essentially similar to an Excel spreadsheet, except it's not in that. In Excel, essentially what it is it has all of these different field types. So if I change a field type in here, which I'll get into in a different video, it has all of these in essentially any cell. And a cell in Excel is like, this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell. But in here, in Airtable, all of these are unique this way. So that's just the introduction to how to create bases, how to sort of navigate the Airtable landscape with finding the bases from templates or creating your own base. You can start typing in information here. So I don't know what I'm going to try to manage in this specific base, but we can say it's like content. So this is going to be my, I think, third video. So we already had video 1, video 2, and this is video 3. So video 3, and we can add like different statuses here. So I would say like my first 2 videos are, and this status already works here, so these ones are done. And this is the third video and it's in progress, and I would say video 4 out of, I'm not exactly sure how many right now, but they are in the to-do phase. And so there's a lot of different ways we can represent this data, but that's just the basics. I can see how many videos I've done now, what's in progress, what still is left to be done. So that's the basics of Airtable bases.